Hey, this is Mike Lindsay from Vital MX. We're out here at Glen Helen Raceway today to spin a few laps aboard the 2025 Honda CRF450RWE, which of course stands for Works Edition. Honda's been at this for a couple years now, and amongst some of the OEMs that do this, I do appreciate that they have a laundry list of items they actually change on the bike. Of course, the standard 2025 platform was fairly heavily updated this year. It is technically a new generation bike for Honda, albeit most of that was based around the chassis, swing arm, bodywork, subframe, suspension, just like the handling chassis characteristics of the bike. The engine is basically identical to the outgoing bike with a different exhaust system, ignition, and intake system to tweak and manipulate that power. So all that, of course, is here on the Works Edition, plus the add-ons. And let's get into that list. It's a little on the lengthy side. So of course, from the most obvious standpoint, you have the full Yoshimura exhaust system, RS12, with a stainless header titanium exhaust. We actually messed up on the 250 Works Edition. Works Edition 250 is a full tie. This is stainless header tie exhaust can. It does have a Hinson clutch cover and clutch basket. The rest of the clutch is production Honda. The cylinder head is hand polished, so it's the production head. It's been cleaned up a little bit. It also has different dedicated ignition and fuel maps for all the mapping selection on this bike is unique to the Works Edition, so the ECU is a different part number in this case. And then some of the other performance add-ons we see are to the suspension. You have full nitrate coating on the fork along with Kashima up top that is different than the production one. Looks a little bit more like the kit fork. You have the different adjusters up top. You know, again, very similar to the fork that we see on the Lawrence's bike. It does have a standard cast lug that has just been black anode. And then the shock has a few decent upgrades going from a 16mm to an 18mm shock shaft. It also has a different A-kit style adjuster in it. And then the settings front and rear are both a little bit stiffer and tuned slightly different for the Works Edition. Then beyond that, you get into the bling. We have a little bit different colored triple clamp. You've got the Renthal Kevlar grips. You also have the DID LTX rims, the HRC inspired graphics, seat cover from Throttle Jockey, and then lastly, it does come with a twin air filter stock, unlike the production bike. So at the end of the day, what does that all actually mean? It is $2,900 more than the standard bike, so a very decent price jump for all this stuff. And it is interesting comparing the Works Edition 250 to the 450. The 250 we were very positive about because it had upgrades that were extremely meaningful on the performance side, and I don't think they wasted too much of the budget in the bling. That bike was maybe, I think it's like $1,300 or $1,600 more in the standard bike, and it's only like $200 more in the KTM. So the 250 was very focused on performance. The 450, that price jump is a lot bigger because again, there's performance and there's bling factor, which they know the kind of 450 audience, your weekend warrior vet guy that wants the trick bike, they're a little bit more interested in this package. The performance side is also a little bit tougher because I feel like it's easier to make the gain on the 250. The 450, it's, you know, how can you make the bike much faster? Well, in this case, I think it was a little easier this year. Past couple years, we've been big fans of the Works Edition because it's been easier to ride than the production Honda. The outgoing production Honda, of course, had a pretty stout engine. It was a little bit harder to ride. It hit real hard. It was exciting, but it wasn't the most manageable power. Coming into 25, the production CRF450 is extremely manageable. It's very linear. It's very soft, easy to ride, almost too soft at times, maybe a little too lethargic. So instant change I noticed coming into the Works Edition is engine just feels a little bit livelier, a little bit freed up between the pipe, the head, and the ignition. Map changes, the bike has better recovery character, better pickup, that low to mid response is a little bit livelier. Some of the places, you know, so again, we're here at GH today, you get late into the day, you have a lot of like blown out hard pack corners coming in where you really can't push that hard, so you're kind of softly coming into the corner, and then we have these very blown out berms and you can almost bury the bike too much where all that, you know, sand and dirt has pushed up. The production bike, you know, you got to give it a little bit of clutch. You got to have the R's up and ready because it can be a little bit too lazy coming out. Lazy enough that you start to almost tilt over too far, waiting for the power to pick up, and then it comes on and you're kind of changing your balance. The Works Edition just has cleaner pickup, cleaner throttle response. The bike is a little bit more lively in those situations where, again, I'm not a big clutch guy, so I'm just able to manipulate it all off throttle feel and be able to get the bike to pick up real lively. Row it through the gears, it's very noticeable on the hills. Second gets up and through that power quicker. Third gets up and through that power quicker to get to fourth. So I'm just able to get through the gears and use it up. In the same breath, the gears feel a little longer. Changes to, again, the head, the pipe ignition. The bike carries better up top. The current gen CRF450 has a little bit of vibration at high RPM. It's a little bit choked down feeling on the production bike. The Works Edition still has some of that vibration feel, but it feels cleaner up at the top end. Like I said, it doesn't feel as restricted as the RPMs build. You don't feel that taper off quite as quick. It feels like it carries a little more. You, again, still start to not build as much, but it carries through the end better. And that helps the bike feel lighter overall. Again, that pickup, that response, that little bit freer feel up top. The bike doesn't feel as bound up and heavy, so it feels a little bit more lively. Plays into the stiffer suspension. This bike definitely has a racier character. It's a little bit more held up, particularly in the fork. One real hold up on the production CRF450R this year, the standard bike, is front fork was pretty soft. That was a big complaint in shootout by the guys. Like, comfort was fantastic, but it was a bit divey. Made the bike a little bit pitchy. I was a little worried coming into GH. Say, we've got the big hills, we got the downhills, we got some good braking zones. That was everything that stood out to me immediately. I did one roll lap, kind of cruised down one of the hills. Next lap, sent it, and I braked very early and kind of braked soft because I was expecting more transition, and the holdup was great. So I was like, okay. Next lap, we went much deeper on the downhill in the braking zone. We was able to push much harder on the front end. Just way more enjoyable in that aspect. Again, both ends are stiffer, but it feels like a bigger jump in the front, which is good. Because again, on the standard bike, I thought the rear end overpowered the front end. This bike feels very, very balanced out of the box. Honestly, in the 450 class this year, just thinking off memory from doing shootout, this potentially might be the most balanced feeling 450 in the class right now. Pretty close up there with production Austrian bikes are pretty good with that. I think I complained in shootout that the Honda was a little pitchy, the Cowie was pitchy, and even the production Yamaha's a little pitchy this year. This Works Edition Honda, again, just has a very nice level feel, and that level feel is very confidence-inspiring. Then getting into changing the bike, I still wanted to change the fork a little bit. I was working on my middle corner, just kind of having a tuck feel. I was able to try a few things. I was able to go stiffer, softer, slower rebound, faster rebound, was kind of playing around with the conditions today. And it was just a reminder of how much better the Honda chassis has gone. We talked about in the old bike, it was just very sensitive to fork height changes, to sag changes, to any suspension changes. You'd make a little change, make a gain, and then the next change, the performance would drop off pretty quick. This bike, as dumb as it sounds, the change does what you think it is. As you make a change, you make a gain, but maybe a little bit of a loss somewhere. And those, you know, the difference between 1, 2, 3 clicks, or 1 mil, 2 mil, 3 mil, seems very even. It doesn't feel like all of a sudden the performance drops out of the window in this bike. So some people say operating window or track toughness is definitely a lot better on this generation Honda. And again, those changes to the Works Edition, I think, help it in that regard over the standard bike. Mapping is also, I feel like, a little bit more noticeable than it's been in past years. So map 1 is standard, 2 is mellow, 3 is aggressive. I love the pickup of number 3. Again, on the prior Honda 450s, man, I never ran map 3. It was just, the powers was so explosive. It had such a big mid-range, but kind of a soft bottom coming in. It was unruly kind of feeling. I would tend to go to the mellow map on the outgoing bike. This bike, I feel like there's a reason to use all of them. You have the standard map, again with the Works Edition changes, is really nice balance. The soft map I feel like is more usable on the Works Edition. Like I said, on the stock bike, already being kind of mellow, I didn't like map 2, but on this bike I find a place for map 2 when it gets blown out. And then map 3, the aggression, just quicker pickup, quicker RPM build, a little more excitement is really fun. And then their range of traction control, they have 3 settings. It's just fun that some OEMs just have one you turn on and it's a little intrusive. This one you can change that setting between the 3 selections and just have a little bit more variance there. So let's answer the more simple question. On the Works Edition 250, I was very quickly able to say I would buy this over the standard bike in a heartbeat for the extra $1,600 between the hydro clutch, the performance upgrades on that bike. It made the bike feel so lively and good. And I was like, downright, and I've run into quite a few people who have come up to me now from that review and been like, is it that good? If I'm buying the Honda, should I spend the extra money? I'm like, yes, I would do it. I would spend my own money. Would I spend my own hard-earned money this time when we're talking about the 450 and then to the Works Edition 450? If I'm going off performance value, I would not. It is better for what I want. It is racier, it is more fun. But again, it's not as big of a performance jump, I feel like, as the 250 was, and it's basically double the price and change. However, like I said, the 450 has more bling on it, and that is some people's taste. That's kind of where the 450 fits that market. So again, it's a tougher question. If I'm going off performance value, no, I'm not quite there. It's fun, it's good. total value, I still think at $2,900 over with even the bling, things like, yeah, it's still a little bit of a chunk of change for me. However, for as the market's gone, for some people, this is still, like I tell you, the performance upgrades, you know, somebody that has no discount on parts, no buddy deals, like some of the stuff on this bike is really cool. Some people love the look and it is well worth it. Am I gonna say it's a bad, like, no, it's better than the standard bike. If you are okay with the price difference, you like the bling, cool, go get the Works Edition. If you're sitting here going, well, you know, Michael, should I get it? Is it that much better over the standard bike for $2,900? It's not $2,900 better. It's better. It's not $2,900 better in my opinion. But again, just trying to give it to you straight. Still a great bike. I love the updates on it. I really don't. Only spent a day on it. GH didn't get too gnarly today. I don't have a major complaint. I can play with the fork setting a little bit more. I can play with the shock a little more, but I love the balance. I love the power characteristic. I love the add-ons. We're doing pretty good. If you have any other questions or thoughts about this bike, please throw them in the comments section below and I will do my best to get to them. As always, if you like our contents, our bike tests, all that, please give us a subscribe and like. We try to put out some pretty darn good content here, and thanks for watching.